We're running it. What was that? What was that?
Was that a scrum?
Are we running Scrum?
Isn't that a rugby term?
I think it is, but I've also heard it in business, software engineering, software development, product development.
Right.
Could you enlighten us in the process of Scrum? Because I also know that you are a Scrum Master as well.
So to put it in simplest terms for people that may not know what a Scrum is, it is basically we like to have it on a daily basis, a daily meeting, not usually longer than 15 to 30 minutes, of a team coming together and basically giving updates on their recent production, what they've been working on, and what they intend to work on in the near future, and any things that they may want to call out, concerns, blockers, things of that nature. So basically, a Scrum, for those that may not know, in simplest terms, is basically one little update meeting for your team, just to see the status of things, how things are going, and what you intend to do in the near future.
Update, but also direction setting.
Yes.
To make sure that the course is still set properly.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, so not only what are Scrums, but how do Scrums really benefit you and your business and things of that nature? Because when you think of Scrums, you think of what we just said. Okay, a little cutesy little update meeting. Okay, cool, big deal. What's the big deal about that? But how does it really help you in your day-to-day business, going ons and outs? So, and not just only with what you have going on, with what we have going on together.
Right. It works both ways. Mm-hmm. But let me give you an understanding of why you actually need a Scrum so that you can understand how it benefits you. Mm. When you don't have direction, but you have an insurmountable goal, something that is so far off and so large, if you don't have structure, if you don't have measurables, if you don't have milestones, if you don't have rocks, if you don't have goals along the way and a method by which to obtain those small goals so that they can build up to the final end goal, you're going to wander aimlessly. And when you multiply that to a team of 10, 100, thousands of people, now you have scrambled eggs all over the place that are raw and undercooked. And so what a Scrum does is a Scrum essentially helps everybody organize and coordinate and helps you delegate as the Scrum Master work to different quantities of people and different volumes in different methods and manners. And it also helps you to work in sprints. Austin, could you quickly enlighten us on what a sprint is? Because I don't think we gave him a breakdown actually of the structure of a Scrum.
Okay, so for sprints, again, in its simplest form, a sprint is normally a 2-week time cycle of you trying to develop a particular thing. So for our space and spaces that we've been in, developing some piece of code, that would normally say, okay, it's about a size 3, so story point sizing, or the work that we think is going to take is, a difficulty of a 3. Let's just say that's not too crazy. That's some work, but not anything too difficult. So we can take care of that in a sprint. So a sprint being 2 weeks of when we say that we're going to work on this one particular thing throughout that sprint timeline. And instead of trying to work on, the whole entire application, trying to focus on the macro, you're focusing on the micro and trying to complete this particular thing in a sprint, which is 2 weeks. So it's relatively quick, fast paced, but you're trying to hurry up and develop something so you can figure out what is wrong and what is right and how you can optimize and make that product, the overall product, work and also get out faster. So when you're thinking of a sprint, it is mainly a timeline of when you want to do something. And again, that's normally 2 weeks. So that's when I would say, most people would say a sprint is 2 weeks.
And that's why I like to say that life is a marathon of sprints. And I think that also applies in Scrum very well, because what you do is you take that big goal and then you compress it into small chunks and sections. And as long as you can stay relatively on target and within that timeline of those sprint periods, before you know it, you're going to make substantial headway towards that goal. And so in reality, you take this big problem and say it's a problem of 100 steps, and you take those 100 steps down to 10 and those 10 down to 1. So you find ways to make everything into small little segments and sections that become very manageable, and then you learn how to delegate them. And once you can delegate them, you just need to make sure that they're delegated to the right people, they get completed within the sprints, and next thing you know, each sprint, say you complete 10, it would take you 10 sprints, and you give yourself a leeway, maybe 12, to compensate for whatever it might be. And next thing you know, after 10 sprints, you've completed your 100 segment goal.
Right.
That's why.
And when you're thinking of a sprint, sprints help you fail fast. And when you hear that, people are like, fail fast? Why do I want to fail? You're thinking of it incorrectly. When we say fail fast, we mean, okay, you're figuring out what doesn't work as fast as possible. Instead of going or carrying out a different methodology and saying, okay, you guys just build me this. I don't care how you do it, just build me this and show me this in 3 months. Do that. 3 months come. You didn't get in touch with the stakeholder any time, along that way. You present it to the person and they're like, wait, I just tried to do this and this doesn't work. Or this doesn't work how I want it to work. What's going on here? When you do that, as opposed to failing fast, when you fail slow, it causes those types of problems where you basically just wasted 3 months of work because you decided to fail slow instead of fail fast. When you fail fast, say in a sprint, in those 2 weeks, you figure out what works and what doesn't work and how to optimize it in 2 weeks, as opposed to 3 months or a year or whatever. You're failing fast, figuring out what doesn't work fast so you can figure out what does work faster. So that is a big thing on sprints. And back to scrums, I would say scrums are also very important and they benefit people because not only do they keep things aligned, so you make sure that, let's say that our goal is to develop the most comfortable shoe possible, right? And when you are going through these scrums, every day you can check in and make sure that how we're developing this shoe is exactly how we're supposed to develop this shoe. We're not developing it for how it looks. We're not trying to make the best looking shoe. We're not developing it for how well that it adapts to its terrain, how good it is for running, how good it is for basketball, how good it is for all this shit. No, we're not focusing on that. Those might be secondary thoughts, but our main thought here for this shoe is making sure it's the most comfortable shoe possible. When you have these consistent scrums, you make it possible or you don't make it possible for people to kind of veer off the pathway of where you're trying to go to. Because say that, again, instead of meeting every day for a scrum, you meet every 2 weeks. A message can get lost in translation over a span of 2 weeks or over the span of a long time. But when you're telling somebody the same thing over and over again, or you're letting people know this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal every day, day in and day out, there's less room for mess ups. There's less room for missing or mistranslating something. So that is a big thing for scrums as well. And also it keeps people accountable as well, because a big thing for us and for scrums and for people who have employees, when you're checking in with people on a day in and day out basis, a person, unless they just really don't care about the job and don't care about having it, they're going to say, hey, look, man, every day they're going to call me out and say, hey, how's your work going? Do you have any blockers? Do you need me to do anything? Do you need any help with anything? Okay, cool. Every day they're going to check in and see how I am with this particular task that I was assigned. So it keeps people accountable because you're consistently going and asking them and checking in with them on this particular thing. If you don't have scrums and you let people go willy-nilly and do whatever they want to do and not check in, again, things can get lost in translation. The goal might be pushed further and further out of sight, and things could get misconstrued. So these scrums are also very, very good for holding people accountable for the work that they're doing, because you're consistently checking in with them and seeing if the work that they're doing is aligning to what the main goal is.
I think the most important thing about Scrum that we haven't mentioned yet is that it's the systemification. I don't know if that's a word. The systemization is probably, because I was thinking about gamification.
Yeah.
Scrum is the systemization of all processes when it comes down to breaking a project down into actionable steps, delegating, and also maintaining a level of productivity and accountability within a team as well as within leadership. Because scrums oftentimes also include consultations with the client and periodic check-ins, and it also generally goes and coincides with the agile methodology, which means you have the minimum viable product, which means you are testing products throughout the entire time with your actual client. And so we've always preached that systems are extremely important, and we believe in them till the end of the earth, because essentially that's what helps you structure and organize everything. Because any goal that is large and worthwhile is worth accomplishing in a manner that's well and effective. And it can't really be achieved without a system. That's what Scrum covers.
And we've talked about this before in a previous podcast, but I think it's good to reiterate this particular point here. So when we're talking about scrums, why is breaking, these things down so powerful? Why is creating a system for not only for yourself, but for your employees or for the people that you're working with so powerful? And this is something that we actually have just experienced, but I want to get your take on that.
I will always refer to James Clear for this one. We do not rise to the level of our goals, rather we fall to the level of our systems. When you are on autopilot, your system is what guides you, not your goals. On those days where you're tired, you're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, your system is what's going to determine what you do. If you can come in to the office and you understand exactly what needs to get done in that day without having to put in any cognitive power into understanding the tasks that you need for the day, then you can divert all of your attention and dedicate all your resources towards that singular task. And so if every single day or every single time that you set out to do something, you don't have a system in place, you're met with the big, glaring goal that is so large, larger than life, because we know you have big ambitions, that it makes you feel infinitesimally small. And now you can't even get over the fact of how tiny you are and how far you are from your goal to even begin taking steps towards that goal. And that starts with you. What about your team? What about the individuals who are under you? If you can't properly guide yourself and formulate your thoughts and your structure, then how can you structure everybody else? So breaking things down, and you used David Goggins a couple of podcasts ago as a good example when he went for the world record for pull-ups. Rather than saying I have to do X amount of pull-ups in 24 hours, he said, okay, cool, I have to do 2 to 5 pull-ups every single minute. Right. And that's all I have to do. And that is all I need to focus on. Every single minute, 2 to 5 pull-ups, go. Every single minute, 2 to 5 pull-ups, go. That's it. That is creating a system. That is breaking things down into a manageable load. And General, forgot his name, Make Your Bed.
Oh, I have the book over there, but I know who you're talking about. But
Right. Focus on one evolution at a time, the small task in front of you. If it's, I have to make it through the night, make it through the night. Don't focus on what's coming in the morning. Focus on what's making it through the night. So breaking things down is so powerful because it gives you hindsight and perspective on what you need to do as opposed to where you're headed. Because sometimes when you're focused on where you're headed, you don't know where you are and you don't know how to get there. And so you have to build the empire brick by brick. You have to lay the foundation and you have to smooth it out and go up from there.
Admiral William McRaven.
There you go. Shout out to Admiral William McRaven. Now, Austin, or should I refer to you as Scrum Master? Scrum Master Duff. Could you explain to our viewership what a Scrum Master is, the utility of a Scrum Master, and why you can't succeed without a Scrum Master?
So, again, I'm trying to give the definition in its simplest terms so everyone can understand it. So, I would say a Scrum Master is a glorified herder of sheep. So everyone knows that a shepherd is someone who rounds and gets the sheep together because left to their own devices, sheep will go off the beaten path. They'll go off of, well, I don't know if we can say this, but they'll definitely go off the beaten path if you let them. They'll go over there, they'll go over here, they'll go over there. And then it's like, before you know, you look up and then your sheep are all over the place. Now, I'm not saying that the people that work for you or the people that you work with are sheep, but I am saying that most times when you leave people to their own devices and don't consistently group them together and keep them aligned, most people will veer off the beaten path, whether they consciously do it or not. We're humans. This happens. It happens to me. It happens to Jose. It happens to everyone. So when you're thinking of a Scrum Master, think of a shepherd, a herder of cattle, because your main job is to group everyone together and make sure that everything is aligned. Everything is on target and everyone is doing the things they're supposed to do. So this is so very important for a team, so very important for a brotherhood, a family, all that, because when you think of Scrum Master, yes, it's used in agile methodology, but you can have a Scrum Master per se for, again, families. You can have a Scrum Master for anything, a group of friends, anything. You need that one person that is going to be there that has the original goal in mind, whatever that may be, and that consistently groups everyone together and communicates what that goal is and how we are aligning to that goal. Because and I think you talked about this before, with a plane, when you're flying, if you tilt the plane a couple degrees off, maybe like 3, 4, 5 degrees off, that ends up being like hundreds and hundreds of miles of a difference from your desired location from when you originally started. Just by that much, veering off by that much changes the destination from where you were supposed to end up by hundreds and hundreds of miles. So the same thing goes for a team, a group of friends, whatever. If you don't have that Scrum Master consistently reminding everyone, hey, this is what we said we're going to do, let's align to that. Everyone come together. Let's talk about what we're doing. Are we still on track? All that shit. If you don't have someone consistently doing that, you veer off by a couple degrees, a couple inches, whatever. That could drastically change where you end up.
Right. It multiplies.
Exactly. So you need a Scrum Master damn near in everything that you do, in every group and friendship or partnership business that you have. So the main thing continues to be the main thing. So for us, honestly, we do a good job of doing this, whether we're both Scrum Masters in our partnership, I would say.
The dedicated Scrum Master, though.
Yeah, but
I'm the fallback.
I would say that we both do a good job of this. And I think if you're coming up with a business partner, both of you really kind of have to specialize in this, because there's not a team full of, hundreds of people, or a department full of hundreds of people, and in multiple departments where it's like, okay, you have to have a scrum master over here, you put one over there, you put one over there, you put one over there. No, the only people that are working on this shit and make this shit go is just us two, and whoever we consider to employ. And as of right now, it's not like we're employing millions of people at the moment.
Right.
So, we have to hold each other accountable for, putting scrums together. So for us, it doesn't necessarily matter how we come about to getting to a scrum. We know that we have to have them so that we're aligned on everything, and that we're accomplishing the things that we said we're going to accomplish in the time frame that we said that we were going to accomplish them. And that doesn't matter where we're at either, because when a scrum needs to happen, when we feel like we have to have a scrum, we have to have a conversation, we have to align on things, doesn't matter where we are, we're going to have it. And one of the actually places that we love to have scrums, oddly enough, is the gym. We'll work out, but while we're working out, we're talking shop, making sure that we're aligned on shit. And oddly enough, with music fucking blasting in our ears from the speakers that they have in the gym, most people may not be able to hear shit. They have to yell shit, all that shit. We're having a civil conversation with each other, just like this, accomplishing things, checking things off the list, making sure that we're doing things in this time frame, all that shit at the gym with all this extra shit going on. So it doesn't matter where you have a scrum, you just have to get them done. That's the main thing. You have to get them done. You have to have them so that we are aligned on things. So
That rhymed.
really,
Yeah, say it again.
it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't matter where you have a scrum. You just have to get them done. Yeah,
Dude, you could pitch that to the Scrum team, and then that could be a quote in the next book.
Hey,
it could be its own chapter.
Yeah, don't steal that shit from me, because if I find out that somebody else said that in the next couple of weeks or a month, I'm gonna know who did it. We have analytics, so we can find out who said it, who did it, and then we're coming after we're suing you. Sorry,
I like it.
it's not business. I mean, it's not personal.
It's not personal, it's just business.
You know what I'm saying?
So real quick, to harken back to the quote that you're referring to from James Clear again. That's the second appearance in this. Atomic Habits. This is the beginning of the quote. The impact created by a change in your habits is similar to the effect of shifting the route of an airplane by just a few degrees. Imagining... Okay, that's not me misreading this. That is a typo for whoever wrote this article.
Gotcha. I didn't think
It says, imagining you are flying from Los Angeles to New York City. Imagine you are flying from the... Okay, we'll start again. The impact created by a change in your habits is similar to the effect of shifting the route of an airplane by just a few degrees. Imagine you are flying from Los Angeles to New York City. If a pilot leaving from LAX adjusts the heading just 3.5 degrees south, you will land in Washington, D.C. instead of New York. And just so you all know, we did the math on a previous episode, and it was roughly 280 miles difference. Such a small change is barely noticeable at takeoff. The nose of the airplane moves just a few feet, but when magnified across the entire United States, you end up hundreds of miles apart. And this is why I want to mention one thing about the Scrum Master and one thing about leaders as a whole. Your actions, your mindset, your emotional maturity, your EQ, your apathy, everything down to the core is amplified through your team, through your employees, through whoever it is you are working with. That is all the more reason why your direction, your heading, your longitude and your latitude coordinates have to be set properly, because any deviation that you have from the goal or from where you should be is going to amplify through your team. So at the end of the day, you always have to take full responsibility. If one of our employees goes out and fails at a task and we fall through on a client, it's not the employee's fault. It's our fault.
Correct.
Because he's our employee, he or she. And the same thing applies with any company, any industry. If a plane goes down or it has to be grounded because of XYZ conditions, and it was an issue with the engineering on the plane, it's not the engineer's fault. It's the company's fault.
Right.
and who owns the company, who operates the company. That is the person responsible. And so therefore, any issues that you have will always be magnified and amplified. That's why they say stress doesn't make you bad or worse. It simply amplifies your imperfections and brings them to light.
Okay. And for those out there who may be thinking, because I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, Jose, from your perspective, but growing up, I don't think we were just exceptional at one specific thing.
No.
Like you may know someone who was just great at what have you. Everybody knows somebody that they grew up with that was just great at a particular thing. We weren't necessarily like that. We had to become adept in a variety of things through work. It wasn't something that was, we were just blessed with. So if you're thinking, hey, you're saying all this shit, I've watched some of your podcasts, you're saying all this stuff, and I don't think that I'm just particularly good or great at anything. Well, you know what most businesses, companies, if you're going to start your own business and have a group of people that you want to do this with, there is going to always be room for a Scrum Master. One of the oldest professions on planet Earth, which is herding sheep, is basically being a Scrum Master. You will always be in need if you know how to get people together and keep them focused, keep them aligned, keep them focused on the main thing, making the main thing be the main thing. If you can do that well, because trust me, it's harder than what you think. If you can do that well, you will succeed. If you can do that well for yourself as well, you will succeed, because it is so easy. We talked about this in our last podcast about how you like your beard. People will always give their opinion on some shit, and someone's opinion, whether you know it or don't, could influence what you do ever so slightly, to the point to where the main thing isn't the main thing anymore. Someone's opinion may change a piece of code that is being worked on, and then that could influence the overall application and how it's presented to a stakeholder, to the point ever so slightly that it no longer suffices for them and it no longer accomplishes the main thing that they wanted it to accomplish, all because of that one opinion that was set. So if you know how to group people together and keep them aligned, whether you feel like you're great or not great at anything, or not great at a particular thing that you feel like is important to become successful, if you know how to do this, I do believe that you can go far, and you can help companies, you can help yourself go far, because you know how to keep people aligned. That is such a big thing, because throughout our matriculation as businessmen, we have realized that, there's always going to be an idea that we can come up with like that. There's always going to be another factor that we may not have realized the week before that we're thinking about now, that may influence how we carry out our plans for our product or our business idea. And whether or not it truly aligns to what we said we were going to do when we first started, we may overlook that, we may pursue it, and then who knows, a week or two later, we're like, damn, we tried this, it's not really what we want to do, let's continue doing this. However, when you think about it like this, that 2 weeks where we weren't aligned to our original goal, our original purpose, was potentially 2 weeks worth of money that we lost out on, 2 weeks worth of clients that we lost out on, 2 weeks worth of time that we lost out on. And time is money in this field, or just in, the business world in general. So again, having somebody to keep you aligned and doing this for yourself is so very important, because again, if you don't keep yourself aligned, keep the team aligned, and keep the main thing the main thing, you can veer off and waste time, money, sleep, clients, all that shit. So,
and one of the things about a Scrum Master that we failed to mention thus far is that a Scrum Master doesn't have to be a domain expert.
Right.
It's good if a Scrum Master is a domain expert, but say you're going to be a Scrum Master in biochemistry development in the tech industry. You don't have to be a professional in that industry.
No.
As long as you're a professional at managing people, at
Correct.
running Scrum, that's all that matters.
And a big thing in general in life is you can know how to code. You can know how to add numbers up very well. You can know how to do all this cool scientific shit, right? But one of the most important skills in life that you can have is knowing how to deal with people. That is going to help you no matter where you go, no matter what language you speak, no matter what. If you know how to deal with people and you know how to work with people, people will want to work with you. You could be the smartest person in the room, but if you don't know how to communicate, you don't know how to talk to somebody, nobody is really going to want to choose you to work with because you're not someone that they would like to work with. If you're a Scrum Master and you are dealing with a team full of people, you also have to know how to talk to people to get the best out of them. If you know how to do that, if you know that, okay, I have to say things to Jose a specific way because if I say it like how I would normally say it to Tammy over there, he may take it the wrong way. I know Tammy takes things, well in this capacity, but if I say it to John may get upset because he is dealing with his kids and his wife and they're, on his back about certain things. He's very stressed out and he has to come to work, blah, 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 blah. So if you know how to deal with people, you know how to treat people accordingly as a Scrum Master, as a person in general in life, that can help you get the best out of people. And if you get the best out of people, that can help you get the best out of yourself and out of your business. You get what I'm saying? There we go. But
That was phenomenal, Austin.
hey,
I think we're ready.
well, hey, I think we've given you a lot of great information on this podcast. And if you didn't feel like we gave you enough information, you know what you should do? Watch the whole thing and then just watch it again.
And then leave a comment
Right.
with critical feedback
Right.
on how we can provide you with more compendious and groundbreaking content.
And then watch all the rest of our content just so that you can get a better understanding of if we're doing things right. Just watch it all and just give a comment or someone all of it,
And if you do a good enough job at giving us critical feedback, you might just have earned yourself a position as our consultant.
Yeah.
And that
We'll
is-
pay.
Exactly. And we, without further ado, are going to have our Scrum
Right.
at the gym within the next hour. The AM Club Podcast.
Signing up. Mic check.
The AM Club Podcast.